Good morning. My name is Omar Rapisat. It's April 6th, Friday, 2018 at 12 p.m. in Toronto. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the ongoing community targeting program. And but before I do that, I'm just going to confirm that the tweets today, with my face on it, of course, is mine. And those things that I said on the tweets, these are things I suspect is happening in the unit because um, I'm being lynched out of my building, basically, and I think lasers and microwaves are being used to encourage me to move out. Let's talk about the verbal and the physical aspect of this lynching program as part of the community targeting program. There is a contractors outside the window, and they've been shouting, using all the words that the worker I have in court right now uses continuously. This is after they, of course, talked to him in the morning, and as soon as he left and he came in, I heard loud shouting, so I looked out and I saw the worker talking to the contractors. He came in, and they continued shouting, things about the case, things about what's going on in the community targeting program, effing whore and all this stuff. So as all the people that comes in contact with the worker I have in court right now do, everybody, every single person he comes in contact with stands outside or works outside, or just using the loading dock for whatever reason, does this. Every single person who comes in contact with him. The people right now outside are shouting all the things that I already on several occasions documented, talked about, ongoing. Um, and then I heard that I need to be drugged because I need to be calm. Well, the harassment is ongoing, and it's criminal harassment, and it's extremely violent language being used. So it's upsetting. So to harass you and incite your anger and then turn around and say, we have to have you drugged and you need to calm down and don't react is an unreasonable expectation. If someone were to incite your anger and turn around and say, you shouldn't get angry, this is unreasonable, when they deliberately set about to incite your anger, which is a crime. So this is a setup, a case of entrapment, as ongoing entrapment, as is supposed to be as part of a targeting program because you're a target. This is what it's all about. The targeting program is to entrap you constantly. It's a constant entrapment situation. So this is one way of entrapping me to make me look like I'm mentally ill, violent, aggressive, angry all the time, and I need to be drugged to calm me down. Of course, as you can tell, I'm doing this instead. I vent, of course, inside of my home, not in public, inside of my home, with my therapist okay. And I do it inside my home, not publicly, inside of my home. You need to get rid of anger in a constructive way. So so in a conscious way, knowing that you're doing it. And this is what I do inside my home. So, this is not, if anybody records this and take it to court, this is not an indication of mental illness or, ongoing anger at anybody, directed at anybody. It's just venting, period. Venting based on the continuous harassment outside my window by the worker and everybody he comes in contact with. And that includes the neighbors. I think he works with the neighbors to do exactly the same thing. So there seem to be a lot of names who are taking on this monitoring duty. And I'm going to start with my sister-in-law. So just to give you a little bit of background why I stayed with them for a few years ago. Um, I tried to sell my unit as a result of being harassed. And so I had it cleaned up and I moved in and I had it listed so it could be shown by a broker. So while that was going on, I stayed with my sister-in-law. However, I didn't know at the time when I moved in with my sister-in-law that what had happened in this building was that several warrants were sought based on misinformation setups, as I just described, frame setups. This information was taken, or misinformation was taken to a judge and magistrate, gotten warrants, and this was done several times. The warrants I heard were open for 7 days. So the cops could pick you up anytime because they had a warrant for you for a mental evaluation. So I didn't know this at the time that there were a lot of open warrants. When I became aware of it, I actually went to the station. Actually, I went to two stations asking for the warrants because I was being stalked and I was being harassed about it. I was harassed based on the information submitted to get them, to get the warrants. So I was stalked and harassed and followed. And because of this, I went to the station on more than one occasion and asked if there were anything outstanding. And of course, there wasn't. So anyway, that documentation I'm suspecting were made in a court and was made public as part of the targeting program. So I was under suspicion based on that information or misinformation that was in the public arena. And because of that, there was always an envelope open. I was always observed. I was always stalked, harassed, and information was always being accumulated on me. And I had no privacy. Everything had to be known about me. Every single thing. Every single thing. And this was going on in this building, which meant that somebody were coming into my home and taking pictures of my unit, inside of my unit, and documenting it. This is a covert program, and they would record everything I do and say inside of my home. And if they were coming in, and I have evidence that they did come in, they may have left cameras in here so that they were probably hooking my home up to the internet and for anybody to view, or giving the password to a link to people, anybody who would want it, or selling it, which I think is actually what happened. So anyway, I didn't know all of this was going on. So when I went to my sister-in-law's house to stay, she was aware of it after staying there for a while and finding work while I was there as an accountant and observing what was going on in the workplace. I realized that there was some sort of a contract on me to surveil me because the surveillance was going on in the workplace as well. And where I stayed at my sister-in-law's house. So I realized then that there was a source. She was a source. She was telling people everything she saw and heard and lied about what was going on as well. I'm suspecting that there was an affidavit sworn that said I was a prostitute. I assaulted her grandkids, I heard. This is so ludicrous, it's not funny. I hardly had contact with her grandchildren, and any contact I had, I was never alone with them. It was in plain sight in the living room. Father was there, grandfather was there. So this is not true, not true at all. And this is not something that I would ever even think. It just is. It's impossible for me to do, really, because I absolutely love kids. So it's not something I would do. This is, it doesn't even come into my thinking to do stuff like this. So these claims are, for lack of a better word, these are criminal claims. If they're signing affidavits about this, it's perjury. They're deliberately lying, saying I did criminal acts that I did not do. Also, I heard that I was looking for men in Mississauga, and I was followed to Mississauga. This is job hunting. Was actually looking, and I did find work, so it was job hunting. If someone were to look into the details of it, you'd see my emails, making contact with the person, being asked to come in to do a face-to-face interview before I was placed. So it was a male. Yeah, I met a man. The man was in an employment agency. So these things are deliberately being misinterpreted to make it look like I was a prostitute, which I suspect she was defaming me with this suspicion of hers. She was telling just about everybody that she thought I was a prostitute. I heard it in the house. So this is she took part in targeting me. So the things she said about me were all lies. All lies. I heard that there were stains in my underwear Well, I have a lot of marks as a result of being assaulted with microwaves and lasers. I have a lot of marks on my skin, so I use turmeric as a skin lightener. So this was what she would have seen in my clothes. And then I think it was interpreted to mean that I had some sort of an infection, the yellow marks, turmeric, which never comes out, by the way, in your clothes. So this is the kind of stuff that was said in that during that time, that 1 year period. Um, at the end of that time, she kicked me out basically. So what I think will happen there is the contract was with the company, and there was a team in the company surveilling me, rotating relay style, and engaging the public in the surveillance as well. They were getting feedback from the public, and I believe the male who took the contract, I believe a female took the contract and gave it to the male, and the male then continued it and espoused me or joined me or became a steward or something like that, without, of course, not telling me because I'm not meant to know this. And he was actually trying to have me mentally committed to take full control of me and sell me, I'm suspecting, as a sex slave. First use me for himself and then sell me because he's Muslim. So this is all an ongoing targeting. This is one aspect of the ongoing targeting program. So I'm suspecting that when the contract was not extended with the company because I was no longer there, and it was extended for months and months after I left the company, she, the sister-in-law, got the contract. She put the name on the contract, and she started calling the cops on me and lying, basically lying. So I was looking for work, and I suspect also that she had me mentally declared mentally incapacitated based on the affidavits that she swore and information that she stole from my file, and that that I'm not going to go into details with, but there things that could have been misinterpreted from the documents that I had with me. And I think that she took these documents to her doctor, didn't take me because I was not getting along with her at the time once I realized what was going on. Didn't take me, but took the documents and had it reviewed by the doctor, and maybe the doctor, taking part in the targeting, signed the documents. Maybe I'm suspecting this is what happened. I was never told if this took place. I was never told. So of course I was looking for work all this time. So you can imagine if somebody knows for a fact that there's these documents out there that had me declared mentally incapacitated and I'm looking for work, do you think I'd find work after that? And if I did, what kind of work would I find? And if I did find work in the accounting field and this file is traveling with me, how do you think I would be treated in the workplace if people were illegally surveilling me, because none of this has been disclosed to me? So this is one of the environment in which I was being illegally surveilled. Now this happened in every single workplace for the last 6 years at least that I was aware of. I'm sure went on. I'm sure it went on before that, but it became painfully clear in the last 6 years that this is what was happening. So what happened in this building, what started in this building continued covertly at first and then overtly. Anyway, it's going on 15 minutes, so I'll stop talking there, and we'll continue another time.